Hello everybody, this is Tim again, here with the next Friday the 13th commentary, this time for Jason X, the dreaded space sequel. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead and jump into it. So if you want to sync up, my timestamp is set to 0 right now, so we'll count down in 3, 2, 1, pressing play now. Let's get it on, outer space. In space, no one can hear you screw, because Jason is there. And he just won't let you. And pretty much this movie came about because they wanted to do Freddy vs. Jason. They couldn't get the script right or off the ground. So they decided to do a sequel set very far in the future so it wouldn't interfere with the timeline. I get it. It's fine in terms of a way to go. But why go to outer space? I mean, there's other ideas you can do, besides what they do here. Outer space is not like a... It is usually the death knell for like most franchises. At this point in the franchise, they didn't really have anywhere else to go but space. They could have just done another traditional, like At the Lake movie or whatever, except set in the future. Well, that's the problem though. It would have to be after Freddy vs. Jason. And they couldn't do a direct sequel to Jason Goes to Hell because that's Freddy vs. Jason. So what I would have done is set it in the future, but have it be at a future Camp Crystal Lake, just like at the campsite or whatever, and have Jason walking around like maybe even military facilities or whatever, and just have it set on regular Earth, but like really far in the future, like 2000 and just don't give a date. It could be like they could just like be some explorers or something in the future at like a frozen wasteland version of Crystal Lake or whatever, and they could like find Jason's body underneath the ice or something frozen and then unthaw him, and he would like wreak havoc at a military facility or something set in the future. You didn't have to like go directly to outer space. You could have done just a movie set in the future at a future camp version of Crystal Lake, with like a military facility or something that just managed to find Jason was trying to study him. Like this opening here could have just been the whole movie in some future version of Crystal Lake. The other problem with this movie is that they give a time set date for when they first started executing Jason. I believe they give like 2008 or something like that as the first time they started trying to execute him or whatever. Which is a mistake, because if you don't know if Freddy vs. Jason is going to make money, and assuming it does, which it probably, obviously they figured it probably would when it eventually got made, regardless of the quality, then you don't want to box yourself in timeline-wise, because you're going to want to do sequels to Freddy vs. Jason, and if you set a date at 2008 for when they first capture him, then you've already fucked up, because you've limited yourself in terms of the date. So, yeah, they shouldn't have done that. That's what limited the timeline. It would have been much better if they would just set this movie at a future version of Crystal Lake or whatever, frozen over with a military facility, or if they just kept it the way it is, but didn't give a date for when Jason was captured. From the Rowan character later on in the movie. They just shouldn't have done that. It's too limiting for the timeline and the continuity. But I like this opening. It's cool with them like cutting through Jason's mind and all that. When this movie first came out, I watched it in theaters actually, and I was like, well, how did Jason get out of hell? Like, what happened here? There's no explanation for it. But at the same time, that entire plot or whatever for how Jason got out of hell is covered in Freddy vs. Jason. So it goes part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, Freddy vs. Jason, then this. The timeline it's pretty simple to still follow. Yeah, there's a lot of continuity errors in the franchise overall, but in terms of a B-movie horror franchise made in the 80s, it makes good enough sense. Location, Crystal Lake Research Facility. Subject, Jason Voorhees. Status, awaiting cryogenic suspension. We're just gonna freeze him. But yeah, the whole idea of like setting it in the future on a space station or whatever literally means that you couldn't think up like a better idea, basically. I do like my idea better, where they just have it at a future version of Crystal Lake and they just don't give a date and it's just a military facility or whatever. I think that would have worked better, honestly, both for the timeline and for the continuity, and just probably for the fan base too. They just don't like the whole idea of movies, their horror franchises going to space, because it just always comes off hokey. And really, that's the only way you can naturally play it most of the time, is in more of a camp vein to make it fun. Like, if this movie had went for a darker, more serious vein, I don't think it would have worked as well, because it would have lost some of the entertainment value that's inherent in an idea like this. I think it might have come off duller. At the same time, though, I am open to this idea, because I'm someone who likes variety when it comes to horror franchises, and by the time you get to a movie 10, I don't mind if you want to go to space with something like Friday the 13th, because Friday the 13th has always been like a silly B-movie franchise. Not silly in like a bad way, but like fun. It's always been more of like a fun B-movie franchise. So taking it to space is like the logical step after like 6, 7, 8, 9. So by the time you get to this one, this seems like par for the course for where they're headed. Here we go, our David Cronenberg cameo. I don't want him frozen, Rowan. I want him soft. I like David Cronenberg. He's a good director. He hasn't done anything like amazing though, directing wise in a while. Like Crimes of the Future with Viggo Mortensen was pretty lame. But his heyday was terrific, and he still made a lot of great stuff like in his later years. No director has a perfect track record. That's just the way it is. But yeah, he always gives a creepy factor or whatever when he acts in movies. Like in Nightbreed, he's great in that. One of the best parts of the movie is the villain Decker, the insane psychiatrist. He works really well in that. But yeah, he always has like a cold, creepy factor to him. Here comes the military. Definitely the U.S. military. They think this plan's going to work. On the transport Jason by train through open country or whatever. I mean, that could have been a movie by itself. Like Jason takes a train. Like some military train or whatever. That could have been like a whole movie. Oh, is it Jason or is it the guard? It's the guard. I like how Jason just like escapes all the chains with like no explanation whatsoever. It does beg the question of like how the hell did they capture Jason because he's so friggin' hard to catch. Once again, Kane Hodder doing a great job as Jason here. In terms of his look, I used to not like it, but given that this is like a space age Jason movie or whatever set in the future, I've kind of grown to enjoy it now. I kind of like the way he looks with the ripped up straitjacket and stuff and the hockey mask. I think he looks good. I like this look better than 8. Actually, I think I might like this look better than 9, even though I think he looked good in 9. I like that they also established that Jason has the power of regeneration. So right there you go, that's how he survived Part 8. His body just regenerated. So there you go. Lexa Doig plays Rowan in this, and she's like hot as hell. Getting her nakedness would have automatically brought this movie up to 10 stars. But yeah, she was also in the Chucky TV series as the mom who has cancer who gets knocked out a window by Chucky. She's been in some other stuff. She was in Andromeda. I know she was in that with Lisa Ryder, the chick who plays KM in this. And then the show Andromeda, like Lexa Doig played the android, I think, and Lisa Ryder played the regular human or whatever. I think it was reversed in that. I've never watched Andromeda, but I hear good things about it. She's shotgunning the hell out of Jason. Once you establish that Jason can regenerate in this, his more human look in this, that's closer to like parts 1 through 4, makes sense. Of course, she gets right up next to the friggin' cryogenic tank, only for Jason to stab through it. Makes her look like a retard. Then the room is sealing off, and she's freezing along with Jason. Of course, this time jump like makes no sense because why would the authorities or the U.S. government not go down here and take Jason's body out of this cryo chamber already? Why would they just stop wanting to study Jason and all that? I mean, they would obviously know where this government facility was. Why wouldn't they just go here and get him out of there so they could continue studying him? Yeah, it makes no sense. But if they wanted to go this direction, it would be better if like it was just a group of explorers or something, or even if it wanted to keep it as teenagers or whatever, who found Jason's body or whatever or remains at a frozen crystal lake, and they took him aboard their ship. Like you didn't really even need this whole government opening and all that. Or maybe the U.S. government was just finally like got some common sense and was like, Jason's just way too dangerous. Let's just leave him. I really do like the idea though, if this would have took place at just like a futuristic Camp Crystal Lake with some future tech and all that at like a military base or something, where they discovered Jason like frozen in a lake or something and just like took him out to experiment on him, like set in the future. I think that idea would be cooler. Maybe it'd be too expensive though to have like futuristic type gadgets in like a futuristic Earth setting, but you wouldn't have to like explore the whole planet and do like some kind of Blade Runner budget or something. You could just keep it limited at a future version of Crystal Lake. You wouldn't have to go anywhere else. And no matter what, the whole idea would always be like a one-off because Freddy vs. Jason was made a lot of money, which it obviously would have, and it did. Then you would still have to set movies in the present, so you wouldn't get a sequel to this anyway, unless it like made so much money it was impossible to pass up. Even frozen, Jason's dangerous, as we see when he slices off this dude's arm. I like how this dude's like, it's a hockey mask on his face. Yeah, this movie's pretty much Jason Takes Space, just similar to Jason Takes Manhattan. A lot of people are just put off by this just because they don't want to see Jason like embrace the campsite or whatever of the franchise that it had been building to with the more outlandish sequels and stuff. But at the same time, though, the where this franchise went made logical sense in the context of how it was building on itself. And once you get to a part 10, you need to have more fun. The remake tries, and they even do like a good job in some instances, but it's really impossible to make a 100% scary Jason movie at this point in time, in my opinion, because the character is just too iconic. I do prefer a more horror-focused Jason movie, but at the same time, though, at this point in the series, having more fun with it was the logical way to go. If you're going to make another one, you can just accept the space idea with this movie. I think it pulls it off rather well in terms of fun. This is just a basic Jason movie. He just happens to be in outer space with some future tech. That's really the only difference. Of course, Earth looks like a barren wasteland except for the old Crystal Lake Research Facility, which is still standing somehow. But I'm sure there's probably other buildings at other random parts on the planet. Yeah, you're much better off making a fun, campy Jason in space movie than you ever would be trying to make this serious. What would have been great is if this movie was called Jason Takes NASA. Some of the effects in this are really good and work good for the budget. Other effects are over ambitious, like when they fly into the space station or whatever. It looks like a model. But a lot of the effects here for the budget they had look solid for the most part. I do like the fact that they got nanotechnology in this movie. I believe this is one of the first films to talk about nanobots and all that, which actually makes it ahead of its time now because everybody does it. The Janessa chick in this who plays like the slutty girl, she's pretty hot. Even this chick right here, she's hot too. The one that's just talking to the professor. Oh, the Kinza character, that's who she is. This blonde right here is smoking too. And of course, the professor is horny as hell because he's like banging one of his students with nipple clamps later. She wants that passing grade, boys. She definitely earns the A, though. There were some scenes like originally going to be filmed for this movie, and I think maybe even some of them were filmed a bit or rehearsed, but didn't make the final cut. Like they were gonna have a moment where the character Brodsky, the military dude, has like a zero fight gravity with Jason. That way, it could be much closer to even because Jason's super strength wouldn't have any leverage in him trying to move in space with no gravity or whatever. That could have been cool. Why that was cut, I'm assuming it must have been for time or something. That would have been cool to see because Brodsky's ultimately the one who defeats Cyborg Jason or Uber Jason by the end of this movie. And some people don't like Uber Jason. I like the look of Uber Jason. Yeah, he looks like a little bit like Lord Zed from Power Rangers, but Lord Zed from Power Rangers look cool, to be honest, in terms of his design. So why the hell does it matter? This is already a campy B movie, so it fits perfect in this. In terms of the tone that they're going for here, and which is exactly what this movie should be, which is something fun, the idea of like a cyborg Jason makes sense. You need to have fun with this type of idea. If they tried to take this seriously, this would have come off stupid as hell. Some of the effects with the nanobots here are a little dated, though. It does kind of look like a little bit like Sci-Fi Channel-ish. But it's understandable also because this is an older film. She's pulling out Jason's gimpy eyeball. Oh, for those wondering, I'm not going to do a commentary for Freddy vs. Jason because I already did one, and so it'd kind of be redundant just to restate the things I've already stated. I will say this about Freddy vs. Jason, though. I've warmed up to Ken Kersinger's portrayal of Jason because I think it works for that specific movie. It just isn't Kane Hodder, but I think it works for that movie. I still wouldn't put it in my top 5 or 6 Jason performances or anything, or versions of Jason, I should say. But I think it works great for what it is. But only in the context of the fact that that movie is a Freddy movie. Freddy is the star of that movie, he is the villain, and Jason is the anti hero. And if you go in watching it as a Freddy movie from a Freddy perspective and not judging it as strictly a Jason movie, then it works. And truthfully, that's what that movie could be. Watching uh, watching the Friday 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street series back to back like I have now. Nightmare on Elm Street's clearly the one with the much more story and all that. Friday 13th works much more as a simple popcorn fare, and that's fine. They both have their merits. But if you made a Freddy vs. Jason movie, it would have to be Freddy-centric or Freddy-centered. Because it's the only way to make it work, because Freddy has all the personality and the story. Jason is a force of nature. So just by logic, Freddy vs. Jason has to be a Freddy movie. I do think they should have brought in Tommy Jarvis, though. I think that would have helped even the balance out a little bit more. I like that the Rowan character gets woken up and she realizes, oh shit, it's 24:55. Everybody I know is dead. But the good news is, though, you're in the very far future, and we have super advanced technology where people can live to be probably 3 billion at this rate. Here we got the dude who's being called by the professor here, who just coincidentally knows who Jason is just by the last name Voorhees. I mean, I get that Jason would be a notoriously well-known serial killer in this universe, but still, shit. In the year 24:55, he's still that well-known just by the name Voorhees. But I'm guessing maybe this old dude is supposed to be a history expert or something. I do like when the professor says, "I've hit the mother lode" or whatever, or and That old dude goes, "A box of DVDs is not a gold mine." I'm assuming his plan is to like sell Jason to some type of museum or something where they can just like keep him frozen or whatever and put him up like a caveman type statue and make money off of him like an exhibit. Oh, here comes the nipple clamp chick. The mask is like frozen in Jason's face. She has to cut around it in order to be able to pull it off. Here's the nipple clamp sex scene. This chick is hot, but yeah, there's no nudity here, which is a shame. But this scene is so friggin' weird that it makes up for it. Yep, she passed. That shit is comedy gold right there. There comes the falling off nipple joke. With the android here that wants to be human. Of course, with a joke like this and her being an android and wanting to be human and all that, really reaffirms for you that this is really a science fiction film. This is, once again, similar to, or just like Jason Goes to Hell, this is not a Friday the 13th movie. This is a movie where they take Jason, the character, and put him in a totally different movie. This is a science fiction film. This is a science fiction horror comedy. This is not a Friday the 13th movie. And for what it is, I think it works. Just like Jason Goes to Hell, for what they are, these films will work. If you're judging them as a Friday the 13th film, then they're not going to work for you. Which is understandable why you would do that, because they are part of the franchise. But at the same time, that's not what these films are intended to be. They're trying to do something totally different with the property. If you can accept them as that, they work for that. If you can't, then they won't. Two people are fucking, Jason is waking up. The New Line films are just Jason films. They're not Friday the 13th films. That's the difference. and Jason has arisen thanks to the power of sex. We're 30 minutes in, Jason is up and ready to kick ass. This kill right here, I think, may be the best in the franchise. At least for me. The patented frozen skull crush. Even people that don't like this movie love this one. Yeah, that's the best kill of the franchise right there for me. That was amazing. I don't think there's anything that tops the frozen skull crush. Yeah, here's where we get the drop line that Jason was executed for the first time in 2008, which messes up the timeline for the movies because it paints him into a corner. If it wouldn't have been for that, I would say you could have easily have done multiple sequels just with Jason to the Freddy vs. Jason movie, and just did a bunch of more solo Jason flicks. But the fact that she gives a timeline for when Jason was captured means that once you got to 2008, you would have to do a movie where, well, Jason was captured by the government and held prisoner until this movie. So yeah, it just paints him too much in a corner, and I'm not sure why they did that, why they put this line in here. Of course, they're going to the new Earth, which is called Earth 2. Brilliant name. He could never be with a girl whose balls are bigger than his. How much longer till they find out the J-Man is alive and well and walking around the ship? Ooh, Jason just nailed his ass. The blood shot into his girlfriend's eyeballs, which I believe on the commentary they mentioned was an accident. The writer Todd Farmer talked about this movie about not wanting to do nudity or whatever because he didn't feel like it was justified to like ask the chicks to get naked and not the men or something. Like Todd Farmer, he seems like a nice enough dude, but yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. These Friday 13th movies, the majority of them, they have naked men as well as naked women. It's just more women in general because the audience for these movies, I do think, is a bigger male audience. And that's who these films are aimed at, is a male audience. Which is fine. We have films that are aimed at female audiences that have female stuff in them catered directly to females. We have stuff in male movies catered directly to males. Most men like titties and ass. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. They do. And this, given these are exploitation slasher flicks, they put titties and ass because that's what men want to see, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with exploitation as entertainment. It can be fun as long as you understand that it's entertainment. And that's on the viewer, not on the filmmaker. Speaking of Todd Farmer, he's being attacked by a friggin' alien. Which I actually like Todd Farmer. He worked on Drive Angry, which was also a good one. Oh shit, Jason just killed an alien, but the CGI when he sliced it, that was pretty poor. At this point, you're left wondering, like, what the hell is going on here with these people still talking after they've been killed. Once you find out that it's a video game, it is kind of neat. Of course, given that these are supposed to be teenagers and all that, why the hell that's supposed to be like a school expedition? Why the hell did they have like a military crew with them? I mean, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. But I suppose it's maybe in case they explore worlds with hostile creatures or whatever, or organisms. Kind of like how schools nowadays have security guards, I guess. That was great. Kane Hodder's brutality as Jason is great. He's the best Jason at this point. Just for the simple fact he's played the character multiple times, so he's had like 3 movies worth of material to grow. Or 4 movies, counting this one. Oh, here we got Jason sneaking up on a dude who looks just like Danny McBride from Alien Covenant. Oh shit, it's the J-Man. Jason's hockey mask in this movie already looks somewhat futuristic in the way it's made to give it like a more like sleek updating to bring it into like a sci-fi realm. But I mean, you could have just kept him like this, and I think it would have fit. But at the same time, I am glad they upgraded him to Uber Jason because I think it fits this movie. And having a cyborg Jason is fine for a one-off movie. Of course, they can't resist the "he's screwed" line coming up here. The falling down that screw though was pretty cool. And of course, this movie is copying a lot of the movie Aliens with the whole Space Marines thing going on here. Which makes sense for a movie like this. You're not really trying to reinvent the wheel with a Jason Takes Outer Space movie. Jason's pretty much wiped out like almost all the Space Marines, Metal Gear Solid style, by sneaking up on all of them. I like this where Jason like comes up strictly behind the chick and like slits her throat. This is cool. Jason's like a ninja. Watcha! You dead. You'd expect some of these like Marines though to be a little older. They all seem pretty young. Other than Brodsky, of course, who's the leader. New recruits, I guess. I guess that explains why Jason takes them out so easy. Of course, the dumbass did take his eyes off Jason, resulting in him being sliced in half, which actually isn't too bad of an effect. Yeah, he's an idiot for taking his eyes off Jason, but I do like the fact that he got sliced in half. Cool effect. And you are down to one, boy. Brodsky's the only Marine left. We're about halfway through this movie. This sucker's going by pretty quick. Of course, not much longer we will get Uber Jason. I wouldn't mind seeing the Savini Hell design Jason or whatever from the video game. The DLC character, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a movie at some point. Gonna take more than a poke in the ribs to put down this old dog. I love this comedy. Yep, that ought to do it. Once again, this shit is comedy gold. I will say it maybe is a little bit too campy, this film, but I am glad it's fun. Jason Takes Manhattan made the mistake of taking itself too seriously for the first half and just not having enough going on in New York. Time for Jason to take out the pilot here. This is when you get the shot that really looks like a model where it's got crashing into the space station. Solaris. What's funny is you have like no idea how many people are actually on Solaris. If they did give a number for how many people were there, given Jason's body count and the fact that he kills the pilot, you would be able to add all these people technically to Jason's body count, which would probably put it in the thousands, given how many people he kills here or causes the death of. Like we've said before, Jason just does not give an F. See, like in shots like that right there, it looks very much like a model, obviously. But other than that, I would say the effects in this movie, they hold up pretty well for what the flick is. I like that they established like a strength level for Jason. He can't break down like these titanium doors yet until he becomes Uber Jason. I do think this film probably could have used a bit more gore. Here's where we get the famous trailer line. Why don't you just stick your head out and have a peek? Yeah, why don't you stick your head out and have a peek? Maybe Jason gave up, but no, he's formulating a plan so he can get the standard Jason jumps through a window scene in all these flicks, which is a tradition I'm glad they have upheld. Damn, he broke the window. Of course, the professor, being incredibly stupid, didn't even try to escape. And yeah, he may have been the one that was closest to Jason, but shit, I would have rolled backwards over top of them monitors to run out of that room. But the professor is also a money-hungry asshole, so he has to go. I like that Jason dumps his space-age machete to go for his classic machete again. I always love like little things like that where it lets you see like the insides of Jason's mind and his critical thinking. Of course, that is a funny line. He just wanted his machete back. Woo! Yeah, woo your ass some grass. Here we get a funny reference to Star Trek. Which I'm surprised. I mean, that they didn't do more of that. Why can't you just beam us off this ship? That guy's like, beam us off. Yeah, let's take the escape shuttle. Until the dumbass chick suicides herself by blowing it up. Sad to say, I'm almost near the end of this franchise. All I have left is one more flick. The remake. Which I remember not liking. So it's going to be interesting to give it another chance. Overall, I do like Jason X. I think it's a fun movie. I'd give it a 3 out of 4. It's good, fun entertainment for what it is. It's just not a Friday the 13th movie. It's a Jason movie with him in a space, like, campy, fun setting. But it's not a Friday the 13th movie. Of course, we get some jokes in this movie that don't land, like the Janessa chick talking. Sorry about that little edit right there. I had to do something real quick. But now, pressing play back on the movie now. But yeah, some of the jokes in this movie, they don't land, like Janessa talking about, don't rip my pants or whatever the shit. Yeah, that doesn't land at all. I like that Brodsky's still alive. Looks like it, 2 pokes on the ribs weren't enough to take him down. Danny McBride is still alive here, but he also survived Alien Covenant. He doesn't survive this movie, though, but he makes it a long while. Yeah, Brodsky's still alive. I do like that. They could have just killed the character off, but I do like that he keeps going. Yeah, I wish Uber Jason had appeared in the movie more at the halfway mark. The fact he's saved for the final act, I get why they would go that way, but it would have been cooler if he was saved for like the middle of the movie. That way you could have gotten more action with him. They could have done more with Uber Jason in this movie. That's one of the weaknesses of the film. Because Uber Jason is obviously going to be so much more powerful than regular Jason, it would have been cool if he like picked somebody up and like tore their whole body in half. That would have been awesome. Like this film needs more gore. Yeah, it's fun. This movie is overall, but it still needs more gore. It's a bit too pristine and clean. And just like that, Brodsky's gone. Of course, Jason has a sense of humor, as we've established in other movies. So here's the professor's head on the machete. Goodbye, Danny McBride. You will be missed. I do like the fact that Danny McBride's look-alike here gets electrocuted. Decent kill. Here's where this retard ends up committing suicide by pure accident because she's so panicked she gets everybody else trapped. She's going to doom you all. I do like that she dies like the pure terror of Jason instead of like actually by Jason. It's kind of a unique way to take a character out in one of these movies. Almost time for the Jason versus KM showdown. Speaking of which, here it is. Why the hell he calls Jason Slappy, I have no idea. Yeah, at this point, it really is feeling like a Sci-Fi Channel movie, but still in a mostly fun way. Like the fact that Brodsky jumps in to help her by stabbing Jason in the back once he takes her down. But it does make you wonder, would Jason have had the upper hand after he had gotten her down like that? I mean, would he have sliced her head off? Because if he takes her head off, the fight is over. She's not going to reconnect her head. But yeah, this movie definitely does feel low budget, but it's still fun. I like the fact that she like blows the shit out of Jason, taking off an arm and a leg and a hole through the chest and eventually the head. He just keeps coming though, like the Terminator he is. Yeah, she whooped Jason's ass using heavy artillery power. But even this is not enough. I do think Jason may have went down a little too easy here. He probably would have been better if this fight was a little longer. But they've mentioned on the commentary that it was supposed to be, but budget constraints, they had to cut it down. They were going to do like a mirror room or something where she didn't know where Jason was like coming from and all that. They were going to have like an extended fight sequence, but they had to cut it down for budget and pacing, which is just a friggin' shame. Yeah, we only got 22 minutes left. Oh, luckily the rescue team is here. Man, Brodsky's ripped to hell and back. New escape plan. Let's see if this will work. Of course, it is a pretty big coincidence that Jason landed on the nano reconstruction table. I do like me some Uber, Jason. Just wish you could have done more. But I like the design. Welcome to the birth of Super Jason. Commence rebuilding of Jason. We can bring him back stronger, faster, better than before. Oh baby, Uber Jason is in the house. That is fucking awesome. It fits perfectly in this type of movie. I love it. RoboCop Jason, baby. Terminator Jason. This is the shit. I love that the bullets just bounce right off of him. This shit. This is truly hilarious. He can just one hit the android now. Of course, there's a huge plot hole right here. He said Uber Jason is immensely powerful, even stronger than regular Jason. But yet the Rowan character was able to like stop Jason's arm in midair for a second. That's ridiculous. Like she shouldn't even be strong enough to stop regular Jason's arm in midair. Like regular Jason can punch a heart out and rip a human being's arm off in one move. He can crush a human skull like multiple times. That's like takes like 5,000 pounds of pressure. She shouldn't even be able to come close to stopping Jason's arm. I don't know why they didn't catch that scene and why they didn't realize it didn't work. They probably just shot it really fast and didn't give a fuck and had to hurry up and finish the movie. And we got the Waylander character here who sacrifices himself. Even the vacuum of space is not enough to stop Uber Jason. I'd clap if I could, of course she has to say as a head. I will say this, they could have just killed Lisa Ryder's like android character off. They didn't really need to keep her around as a head. Not that I mind her living, but I mean they could have just left her. Oh crap, he's still coming. This could have been like the best kill of the franchise right here, where the hot Janessa character is supposed to get sucked through the grate. But they just didn't have the budget to pull it off, sadly. But this could have been an amazing kill. Instead, it's very neutered because they just couldn't pull it off. They just didn't have the time or the money at this point. But you do get the amazing line, this sucks on so many levels, which is great. Here it comes. Yeah, that was so lame. Not even the vacuum of space is strong enough to stop Jason. Here's where we get another one of the most popular sequences in the film, where they return Uber Jason back to a virtual 80s Crystal Lake, which I gotta say is fun. It is a fun sequence. And a lot of people like it because at this point in the movie and this point in the franchise, they're just really nostalgic for the old like Crystal Lake type setting and all that. And I can understand why. I would have loved to have. I mean, I personally would have loved to have seen a sequel to this movie where it was Jason, like Uber Jason, at like a futuristic version of Crystal Lake or whatever, like walking around in the future woods and stuff on Earth 2, for at least for one movie. I would have had fun with that. Of course, we got a last ditch problem here. The door won't open. They can't get out because the door won't open. I do like how Uber Jason can just like knock down the titanium doors or whatever. That's cool. Yeah, there were two ways to go with the Uber Jason design. They either the sleek look that they ended up going for, which is more of like the Terminator type style, RoboCop type look, or something that was more like horror movie-ish, where he was like more like with a bunch of wires and stuff hanging out and all that, and it had like a dark look to it. But that wouldn't have really have fit the tone of this particular movie. This movie's too lighthearted to have that kind of style like fit the feel of the flick. So for the tone of the movie and what they're going for, I think the sleek looking Uber Jason works better. If this was more of a horror flick, it would have worked better with the more horror movie-ish type design for Uber Jason. That was kind of more grungy. But at the same time, like I've said already, I don't really think you could make a scary Jason in space movie, and I think if you did try to do that, it would come off dull. Because by the 10th movie, you need to have fun. Here comes virtual Crystal Lake. This scene is a lot of fun. Now, I know originally they wanted like Jason's mother to have a cameo in this scene or whatever to like distract Jason. That would have been like a cool callback to part two when Jenny pretended to be Jason's mom, and here they would have done like a virtual version of Jason's mom to keep him distracted. That would have been a cool idea. Another idea they had that I think may have been actually somewhat filmed. They were gonna have the character Rowan like run out into the woods and stuff like that and distract Jason and have him like the metal version of Jason like chasing after her through the woods and all that. That would have been cool. You could have had some fun with that. You could have made this like an entire like extended like climax sequence for the movie where he was like chasing Rowan to like different cabins and stuff like that. You know, in the virtual Crystal Lake. It could have been a lot of fun. They could have done more with this. But given what they do with it though, it is fun. But they could have pushed it and done more. They do give us some titties though, which are always nice in these movies. Yeah, they love premarital sex. That's a good wink to the fans of the franchise and all that. Makes it fun. The white chick has some nice ones, but like the Asian chick over here, she has a much better rack. Of course, here's where we get the double sleeping bag kill. It does get a little hokey with the two sleeping bag kills right here, where he's like hitting one against the other and it's making like this goofy like sound or whatever. It gets a little bit too cheesy comedic there. Like I'm saying, if they would have pushed it to where it was like Rowan like leading him to different like camp areas and stuff like that, him chasing after her like out in the virtual Crystal Lake and like through a cabin and stuff, that would have been more fun than just like a in joke or whatever about the sleeping bag kill from Part 7. Even though seeing the boobs are nice, other than that, the whole sequence with the killing the two sleeping bag girls is a bit too campy. But besides that, it was still a fun, good sequence. But they could have done more with it. It could have been more fun had they done something like Rowan leading him around Crystal Lake. She has to go back for KM's head, of course. Don't worry, lady. Brodsky's coming back to save your ass. Showdown time. Is that the end of Jason? He is still coming. Flying from one ship to the lifeboat. Or the life-saving ship, I should say. I like that Brodsky like shows up to save him pretty much with the jet boots on. But at the same time, how the hell did Brodsky survive the explosion of the Grendel ship? I get Jason surviving. He's made of like titanium or whatever. And he's super strong. But how the hell did Brodsky live? But either way, I like Brodsky taking Jason out and riding him like a shooting star and him burning up in the Earth's atmosphere. For a sci-fi type movie with Jason in it, this is probably the correct way to go in terms of killing him off. Or is he dead? Because we don't know. We just see his mask landing in the lake. Yeah, some of the effects right there where they're like, it shows a close-up of the Earth where they're like crashing into it, they look pretty weak. But when you see the shooting star, though, from the point of view of these two like campers right here on the Earth 2, it looks cool. And it's pretty damn funny. And seeing Uber Jason's mask or whatever like land in the lake, of course Jason's going to end up making this his new home and all that. And he's going to get up out of the lake and this is going to become his new place. They could have just not like even bothered like they could have teased like having Jason like still alive at the end. They could have just had him like pick up his mask and like stand up out of the lake and put it back on. And just had the movie end with him still being alive. That would have been funny too. But yeah, I would say as a Jason movie overall, I wouldn't even give this 3 stars at this point. I'd give it 4. This was great fun. This is a great fun cheeseball movie. Um, as a Jason film, a movie just about Jason with him in a different type of film, it was great fun. As a Friday 13th film, this is easily the worst of the franchise because it just goes completely against what a Friday 13th film is. But as a Jason movie with him in an entirely different movie, a sci-fi B movie comedy, it was great fun. Harmless, great, low budget fun. And thank you guys for watching, and I shall see you again with the final commentary. Thank you for listening.